Hi, I'm Shashank Bhargav, and you're listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. Till Friday, Maharashtra was under the president's rule. Because after the state election results were announced on 24 October, none of the parties had been able to form a government. BJP and Shiv Sena were in alliance and even had the required numbers, together a total of 161 seats, clearly above the halfway mark, which is 144 in the state. But the two parties had a fallout after the results over who would lead the government. NCP and Congress were in alliance as well, but were together short of 46 seats. So Shiv Sena approached NCP and Congress, who have both traditionally been its rival, for a possible alliance. There were doubts as to whether such an alliance between parties with polar opposite ideologies was actually possible. But at 7:30 p.m. on Friday, after a meeting between the leaders of the NCP, Congress and Shiv Sena, Sharad Pawar, the NCP chief, said that they had reached a consensus to make Shiv Sena leader Uddhav Thackeray the chief minister.
Uddhav Thackeray will be the
Uddhav Thackeray will be the new chief
because
minister.
news just coming in. Uddhav Thackeray is all set to become the chief minister of Maharashtra, and that is something that Sharad Pawar has offered him. Chief minister's position and chair for all 5 years. So finally,
And that's where things were till Friday evening. The newspaper headlines the next morning all talked about Uddhav Thackeray on his way to becoming the chief minister. But something happened in the middle of the night that made these headlines redundant. When people woke up on Saturday and switched on their televisions, they got a completely different story.
On the overnight change in Maharashtra, Devendra Fadnavis is back as chief minister, and Ajit Pawar of the NCP is his deputy chief minister.
Because who would have thought that the BJP and the NCP in the end will come together and give...
At 5:47 a.m. on Saturday, the president's rule was lifted, and BJP's Devendra Fadnavis had once again become the chief minister of Maharashtra, along with his newly appointed deputy CM, NCP's Ajit Pawar, the nephew of Sharad Pawar. In this episode, we look at what exactly happened that night, how Ajit Pawar went against Sharad Pawar, and why the rift between the two might bring down the Maharashtra government. To talk about this, Sandeep Ashar, who covers Maharashtra politics for the Indian Express, joins me on a call. Sandeep, could you first talk about what exactly happened on Friday night? After which we saw Devendra Fadnavis become the chief minister again and saw Ajit Pawar become his deputy chief minister. Could you talk about exactly how did that come about?
What unfolded on early Saturday morning was truly dramatic. I mean, on Friday evening, three parties are sitting together and having final negotiations done to stake claim to form a government in Maharashtra. And the next morning, find the party that is not involved in this talks form a government with one major faction of the NCP breaking ranks from the party and joining the government. I mean, that is truly dramatic. A bit of a surprise for everyone. And the fact that it happened at 8 in the morning, the swearing-in happened, and without much fanfare and without people knowing about it, came as a surprise to everyone. Yeah.
So what do we know about what exactly happened after this meeting? Because after this meeting, everybody was talking about that Uddhav Thackeray is going to be the next chief minister. There's going to be an alliance between Shiv Sena, Congress and NCP.
What really happened was, in that very meeting, Mr. Ajit Pawar, who eventually broke away from the NCP, was present, and there were talks that were held. There was some argument regarding the speaker's position between the Congress and the NCP to back the Assembly Speaker's position, following which the talks were both Ajit Pawar and Sharad Pawar decided to step out of the meeting. Once he came down, Sharad Pawar made that announcement that Uddhav Thackeray would be the chief ministerial designate of the Congress, NCP and Shiv Sena alliance, which would soon stake claim to form the government. But Ajit Pawar stepped out the meeting, and then, as we know, he immediately thereafter, he's extended a letter of support in favor of the NCP MLAs in favor of Devendra Fadnavis. And early next morning, both of them were sworn in by the governor at Raj Bhavan in a ceremony that only a few people attended.
Okay, and then this news comes out Saturday morning, and later that day we saw NCP, Shiv Sena, and Congress together moving to the Supreme Court regarding this.
Right. What we saw play out on Saturday was actually once the news broke, initially people felt that NCP had kind of gone with the BJP as a whole. But, within minutes of the news breaking, Sharad Pawar and his daughter Supriya came out in the open, making it very clear that this was a decision that was taken by Ajit Pawar alone, and it did not have the approval of Sharad Pawar or the party. It essentially split the party and taken a decision. So after that, what we saw play out was Sharad Pawar swinging into action and trying to bring the MLAs who had accompanied Ajit Pawar or who were in touch with Ajit Pawar back into the party fold. By evening, most of the MLAs who were with Ajit Pawar or who were in touch with Ajit Pawar had physically come back to the party. But the main key question here is, where do their loyalties really lie? Since now, with the government sworn in, the key test for the Fadnavis Ajit Pawar government would be the floor test that happens in the Vidhan Sabha once the first sitting of the House is convened.
So how many NCP MLAs did Ajit Pawar had the support of when he went to the governor, when he sort of seeked this alliance with BJP?
Look, the NCP camp and Mr. Sharad Pawar has alleged that the letter of support that was submitted by Ajit Pawar to the governor was actually bore the signatures of all the 54 MLAs of the party, and it was meant for extending the letter of support to the Shiv Sena. So the allegation that has been raised is that Ajit Pawar was then the legislative party leader of the NCP, had misused the letter of support that was being readied to extend the support to Uddhav Thackeray as the Chief Minister when the Congress, NCP and the Shiv Sena post-poll alliance would have staked claim to form the government.
Is that one of the reasons that the party is challenging this in the Supreme Court?
Yeah, the party basically claims that Ajit Pawar does not. So once most of the MLAs came back physically into the party fold, the Sharad Pawar camp is now confident that it has the numbers and most of the MLAs are with him at this moment. So the contention that NCP has made is that Fadnavis government does not enjoy the confidence of the majority of the legislature, and it was sworn in without ascertaining whether it had the numbers of a majority of the members of the lower house. In Maharastra, the Legislative Assembly is 288 members strong, so you need support of a minimum of 145 legislators to form government in Maharashtra.
So right now, how many MLAs is Sharad Pawar confident of? Like, how many MLAs does he say he has?
Look, the NCP has said that most of the legislators have been accounted for and are backing Sharad Pawar's decision not to go with the BJP and form an alliance instead with the Shiv Sena and the Congress to form a government in Maharashtra. As per the last count, the NCP has claimed that 49 of the 54 MLAs of the party are with them as of now. And the fact that Ajit Pawar only has 5 MLAs in all who are with him. But the key question here is, most of the MLAs have physically returned, but when the floor test, when the motion of confidence is moved by the government, the key test is who would these MLAs vote for and what line would they take.
And what do we know about that? When is the floor test likely to happen?
What we know is could happen as early as November 30. The governor asking the Fadnavis government to prove his majority by November 30. But there's a court case, the Supreme Court case has been filed. Tomorrow there's a hearing, the Shiv Sena, the joint petition that has been filed by the Shiv Sena, Congress and the NCP has basically raised questions over the validity of the vote-taking ceremony and has demanded an immediate floor test to be conducted. The first hearing that was held on Sunday, Supreme Court has basically asked the governor's office to submit the letters of support that were extended by Ajit Pawar and Fadnavis, showcasing that they had the support of a majority of the MLAs of the House. And the next hearing is now scheduled for Monday morning, following which a final decision in this regard will be taken.
Could you also talk a bit about what are the various scenarios in which we see the floor tests being played out?
I think the key question in this case is whether Ajit Pawar has actually broken away from the NCP and has carried a faction with him, or as the NCP as a whole unit backed the BJP alliance. Ajit Pawar on Sunday evening has, for the first time after becoming the Deputy Chief Minister, has tweeted saying that he continues to be with the NCP and this is a BJP-NCP alliance. Now, while Mr. Sharad Pawar has denied this and has again made it very clear that NCP as a party does not support the idea of aligning with the BJP. Right. That brings us to the technical question that would come up during the floor test. Now, we must not forget that Ajit Pawar, when he issued the letter of support to Devendra Fadnavis, was the legislative party leader of the NCP. It was after Ajit Pawar's political coup that Sharad Pawar convened a meeting of party legislators and adopted a resolution removing him from the post. That, to me, could hold the key to the floor test, or if he, the legislative party leader or any person authorized by the party to issue directives to the MLAs, as per the 10th schedule of the Constitution, he enjoys the power to issue a whip to the party MLAs. And if a party MLA, during a motion moved in the House, defies that whip, he can be disqualified. So that disqualification threat would always be there.
So in this scenario, if he continues to be recognized as a legislative party leader and he issues the whip and asks the MLAs to support BJP, then he can do so.
In this case, the governor and the speaker who later appointed after the first sitting of the House would be key with regards to the contention that whether Ajit Pawar continues to be the legislative party leader. NCP has already submitted Jayant Patil, the NCP Maharashtra president, and now then the person who now technically holds the powers of the legislative party leader after Ajit Pawar's expulsion, has submitted an official communication to the governor's office on Sunday, showing that all 41 of the party legislators have signed on a resolution where Ajit Pawar was expelled. Now, the BJP camp immediately, just minutes after he landed at Raj Bhavan, senior BJP leader Ashish Shelar, who was a former minister in the Fadnavis government, he came out challenging Ajit Pawar's removal from the post and contended that he continued his appointment that was made earlier was valid and his replacement by Jayant Patil is invalid. Now, this technicality is being explored. It's very clear that BJP and the Ajit Pawar camp are looking at this technicality, which could hold the key to the floor test. So if he enjoys the whip, if he can issue the whip to the party legislators, then there'll be pressure on all the party MLAs to vote as per the line issued by him or face disqualification. Similarly, on the other side, if the governor and the speaker recognizes Jayant Patil's appointment in his place as the person who enjoys the legislative party leader's powers, then in that case, Mr. Ajit Pawar, by defying the party directives, can himself attract disqualification. So that, for me, is the key question which could prove. So BJP for now is claiming that it has support of 170 MLAs, but that number is based on the fact that it thinks 54 MLAs from the NCP, all the 54 MLAs of the NCP, will in the end vote in favor of the motion of confidence.
Okay, so we are talking about this riff within the party. Ajit Pawar breaking and defying ranks and going with the BJP. Was this a sudden move?
While the political coup that happened and breaking ranks would have been a sudden and overnight move, the first hint that Ajit Pawar did not favor or was not agreeable to Sharad Pawar's decision of joining hands with the Shiv Sena had come a week ago, where in the party's core committee meeting, Mr. Ajit Pawar, then the legislative party leader of the NCP, had openly backed the idea of supporting a government backed by the BJP instead of going with the Shiv Sena. Our sources tell us that three other leaders in the same meeting, including party MP Sunil Thackeray, MLA Dhananjay Munde, and former Union Minister Praful Patel, had also shared the same viewpoint. Now, one must not forget that Sunil Thackeray and Dhananjay Munde are known to be Ajit Pawar's loyalists. But most of the other leaders who were present in that meeting, senior leaders, had backed the suggestion or were of the opinion that going with the Shiv Sena would be a better option. Now, the important thing is to remember that after the same meeting, Sharad Pawar, as in the NCP, for the first time had publicly come out and declared its intention to form a non-BJP government in the state with the help of the Sena and the Congress. So Sharad Pawar had shot down Ajit Pawar's suggestion of aligning with the BJP at that meeting. And it is after this meeting that talks were held with the Congress president, Sonia Gandhi, regarding the possibility of going with the Shiv Sena.
So Sharad Pawar did have an at least an inclination of what Ajit Pawar basically wanted.
We could say that he was aware that Ajit Pawar and some other leaders in this party were not favorable to the idea of aligning with the Shiv Sena when the other option of BJP was available to them.
Okay, so what is the next sort of big move that we'll see in this entire matter?
I think it will all lead up to the floor test eventually. On Sunday, you've seen both sides try to persuade each other to soften their own stand with regards to the positions that the others have taken. So from the NCP camp, senior leaders, including Jayant Patil, Dilip Walse Patil, have reached out to Ajit Pawar, urging him to reconsider his stand and resign from the Deputy Chief Minister's post and return to the party fold. Even Pawar family members, including Sharad Pawar's grandnephew Rohit Pawar, who is a first-time MLA now, and Supriya Sule, Pawar's daughter, have issued emotional messages urging Ajit Pawar to return back to the fold. On the other hand, you also see the Ajit Pawar camp mounting pressure on Sharad Pawar to go with his decision of going with the BJP. So I think till the 30th, we'll have to see who blinks first in this case. And then it will all boil down to the numbers game on who has the MLAs with them in the end. So I think these are the two major things. The other parties, Shiv Sena and Congress, for the time being, they'll have to ensure that their own flock, they keep their flock together and there are no defections. So the only way that the BJP government can be defeated on the floor of the House now is if the Congress, NCP and the Shiv Sena MLA stand together and ensure that the BJP or the Devendra Fadnavis Ajit Pawar combination does not have the numbers that is required to show that they have the confidence of the House.
You were listening to Three Things by the Indian Express. Today's show, as always, was edited and mixed by our producer Joshua Thomas. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.